Good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwapelumi Abiola. I'm very much happy to welcome you to another session of HealthFacts Live, the November edition. Today we'll be talking about a very important topic in the healthcare system, and that is something related to antimicrobial resistance. And the specific title of today's presentation is Your Role in the Fight: Practical Steps to Prevent Antimicrobial Resistance. And we have with us this evening a pharmacist, in person of pharmacist Oluwapelumi Abiola. So I'm sure you all in attendance and those that will be listening or watching this event much later will gain maximally from this session. And fortunately, attendees will be able to ask questions from our guest speaker this evening. And some, we already have some questions from registrants for this event. So we'll get right into the presentation shortly. However, I'll be giving a very short presentation about HealthFacts Nigeria, the organization that has put together this event. So I'll be sharing my slide in a minute. So yes, about HealthFacts Nigeria, once again, Oluwapelumi Abiola. So HealthFacts Nigeria is an online media company that provides health and wellness information for Nigerians and Africans. We cover topics such as diseases, lifestyle nutrition, research, news, and more. We also create health quizzes, stories, and videos that are shared on various health issues. These are available on our website as well as our social media pages. And our aim is to empower people with accurate and relevant health information to make informed decisions about their health and well-being. Our mission is very simple, and it is to address health-related problems by providing accurate health and wellness information in the simplest form possible. We observe that most health-related issues that we have today have a foundation of health misinformation, and we aim to address this problem by doing the best we can to make health information simple and accessible. So we do this by sharing blog posts on our website, www.healthfacts.ng. We also share health videos. We release periodic newsletters that were called Health Alerts. Then we organize the HF Live, an event such as this, the one that we have this evening. We organize medical outreaches to local communities, and we also have the new Health Facts video service, which I'll be talking about more shortly. So the blog posts they explore expert written articles, and they offer in-depth analysis and expert opinions on real health topics. And these blog posts are usually timely, and they are usually on latest health news, trends, and expert analysis, and they help our readers to stay informed and make informed decisions about their health. Health infographics and videos are released on our social media pages, and they break down complex health information into easy to understand visuals. And they also contain practical tips, and they offer pieces of advice on healthy living, wellness, and disease prevention. And they are also shared on social media pages, as I said earlier. Health alerts are newsletters that are periodically released. They offer expert advice and health updates on trending health issues. They are convenient, and they are usually accessible via email on our social media pages as well. Health Facts Live, an event such as the one we have this evening, is an opportunity. It offers an opportunity for the public to engage healthcare professionals, such as this evening where we have a pharmacist. Usually, attendees are able to ask questions, and they're able to gain a deeper understanding on various health topics. Today, we'll be talking about antimicrobial resistance, our role in the fight. Previous editions of similar events as this are available on our YouTube channel, HealthFacts NG. Medical outreaches are also organized by us. We provide essential healthcare services and education to underserved communities, bridging the health gap and promoting wellness. So local communities tend to benefit from health talk, free consultations, free medications, and medical checkup. So a very important service I'm talking about is the health facts video service. It's an expertly curated evidence-based content series on 6 essential healthcare categories. They include diet and fitness, diabetes care, hypertension care, skin health, sexual health, and general health tips. they are contextualized for the Nigerian audience. So factors such as cultural, dietary, and lifestyle factors have been considered, and you can benefit from this service by simply subscribing by visiting our website portal.healthfacts.ng. I'll be sharing a very brief video about this video service for more illustration. So I thank you all for your attention so far. Our YouTube, social media channels are on display on the page now. So it's very nice if you could follow us and engage our content. Thank you for your attention thus far. I'll be sharing the video shortly.
Feeling overwhelmed? Searching for reliable health tips and lifestyle advice? Relax. The HealthFacts video service has got you covered with simple, trusted, and easy-to-access information. You can access bite-sized, accurate, and informative health videos of less than 90 seconds. We offer comprehensive videos across 6 essential categories, including sexual and reproductive health, diet and fitness, skin health, diabetes care, hypertension care, and general health tips. Plus, you get interactive quizzes and surveys. Getting started is super easy. Just head to portal.healthfacts.ng. You can register with your email address and set up your password. Then choose a subscription plan that works for you. Follow the on-screen instructions to finalize your purchase. And that's it. You are now subscribed. You can now log in with your new credentials and dive into the world of reliable health information. The HealthFacts video service isn't just about information. It's your companion for a healthier, happier you. Start exploring today.
Yes, thank you very much once again for your attention thus far. That is the end of that video. Now we'll be going on to the presentation proper, as pharmacist Oluwapelumi Abiola will be leading us on the topic he has for us this evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pharmacist Oluwapelumi. So I'll be diving straight to today's topic, and then is your role in the fight, practical steps to prevent antimicrobial resistance. So understanding and preventing the spread of Superbugs. So we are going to be looking from the context of Nigeria and globally. So first off, I'm going to start with definition of terms. So when you hear people say antimicrobials, I want you to understand that we have a lot of difference between antimicrobial, antibiotics, and antibacterials. When you hear antimicrobials, it simply means an antimicrobial is any substance that kills or stop the growth of microorganisms. This includes bacterial, virus, fungal, and parasites. So any substance at all that kills or stop the growth of microorganisms is regards to as antimicrobials. And then antibiotics are medicines that kill or stop the growth of bacteria that causes infections. So I'll read that again. Antibiotics are medicines that kill or stop the growth of bacteria that causes infections. An example of them are amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin, azithromycin. Those are antibiotics that we are used to. So note, antibiotics do not work against virus. Virus is like the normal common flu that we are used to, especially those who have cold, and then you are giving antibiotics. I hope at the end of today's lecture you'll be able to like find the balance between a viral infection and a bacterial infection. And then antibacterials is a broad terms for substance that act specifically against bacteria. All antibiotics are antibacterial, but not all antibacterial are antibiotics. Example: disinfectant, soap, and hand sanitizer that kills bacteria or that kill bacteria on skin and surfaces. So let's note that all antibiotics are antibacterials, and not all antibacterials are antibiotics. So like we said, the difference is that one is a medication for Antibiotics is a medication for killing or distorting the growth of the bacteria, while antibacterial itself is a broad term for substances that fight against bacteria, which can be in form of our soap. We have soaps that they have bacterial properties. So resistance, when you hear the term resistance, when bacteria change and become stronger so that antibiotics or antibacterial no longer work effectively against them. So when you hear that word, when you hear that term, that oh, this thing has developed resistance to this, it means that the bacteria have developed that mechanism, that strength to fight against the antibiotics. That's what is used to conquer the bacteria itself. The bacteria has outgrown the effect of the antibiotics. So this means that the infection become harder to treat and may spread to other. Now, example, I purposely cite this example: typhoid, typhoid bacterial resistance to ciprofloxacin. I'm very sure by now most of us we face these frequent typhoid symptoms, and so we notice that each time we use antibiotics for typhoid symptoms, we realize that we come down with it over and over again. This simply means that the bacteria itself has developed resistance, which means that no matter how much of that particular medication you are using, it will not work. So sensitivity is the opposite of resistance. It means that the bacteria can still be killed or stopped by an antibiotics. Doctors check this through a sensitivity test done in the lab to know which antibiotics will work best. So that's going through normal process, which I'm going to explain further um, in this class. So, what is antimicrobial resistance? Antimicrobial resistance occur when microorganisms such as bacteria, virus, fungi, and parasites evolve to resist the effect of medications. This means infection harder to treat, increases medical costs, and rises the risk of bacterial spread, severe illness, and death. So, what are we saying here is that antimicrobial resistance now is when whatsoever you are using, whether you are down with bacterial, fungal infection, or you are down with parasitic infection, whatsoever you are using this infection will not work because the bacteria or the fungi or the virus or the parasite or whatsoever has developed a mechanism that counter the effect of the medication you are using. So the implication to that is that the infection becomes very hard to treat. And then as a result of that, your doctor who is actually treating you will have to look for other alternatives which might not be readily available, which will incur additional cost medically and also increase the spread of the bacteria, because if a bacteria cannot be cured, it will spread from one person to another, and as a result of that could result to death. So why antimicrobial resistance matters to everyone? For the context, AMR is just a to denote antimicrobial resistance. So antimicrobial resistance is not just a hospital problem, it affects everyone. Resistant infection can make common illness untreated. In Nigeria, misuse of antibiotics is a major cause of antimicrobial resistance. WHO warned that by 2050, antimicrobial resistance could cause 10 million deaths annually worldwide. So, and that is really a lot to worry about, because if we are having a death toll up to 10 million annually, because as a result of the antimicrobial resistance, it's a whole lot to worry about. So now let's talk about how microbes become resistant. Now, overuse and misuse of antibiotics encourage bacteria to adapt. Increases doses leave incomplete doses leave strong bacteria alive. These resistant strains spread within communities and hospitals. So let me explain that. Overuse and misuse of antibiotics encourages bacteria to adapt. Now, as a community pharmacist, one thing I've come to realize is that the rate at which average Nigerians will misuse antibiotics is becoming more alarming. On an average day, I see ladies after their period, they will come to the pharmacy and tell you that, oh, I want to get antibiotics. And then I will ask them, sorry, what do you want to use the antibiotics for? And it will come as a shock to me that they will tell you that I just finished my period. I want to use antibiotics to clear up whatsoever. And then I'm shocked. When has it become, when was it stated that menstruation is part of bacterial infection? Menstruation is a normal phenomenon that occurs at every cycle. So it is not a bacterial infection. So please, when you are on your period or you just finish your period, there is no need for antibiotics, because the more you get used to it, the more your body becomes conversant with it. And because of that, the bacteria develop resistance over time, because this is what they are used to year and year. So, and now we also see cases where I feel more than 80% of Nigerians are actually victim of this. When you are prescribed a particular antibiotics, uh, after normally all things being equal, antibiotics will be used for a period of 5 days, 7 days, and severe cases you have to take it like 14 days. So you see people after taking it for 2 days and they are better, they just throw the medication away, and then that is a whole lot. It's very wrong in itself. So when you are taking medication, regardless of how better you feel, you have to complete your medication. Because if you don't complete that medication, what you have done is that the bacteria, you only suppress the bacteria itself, but you've not totally eradicated that bacteria. So just give it time. Over time, the bacteria resuscitate back and become more stronger, because it develop a mechanism that will counter the effect of that antibiotics that you're going to use. And sometimes too, you will see some people will tell you that, oh, I have this medication that was prescribed to me by my doctor. I only use 5 out of it. Can you continue with it? This is exactly the same complaint that I made to my doctor. That is very, 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 very wrong. Go to the hospital and get properly diagnosed, and then the quantity of the medication will be given, and make sure that you finish the medication so that you will not come back with a resistance at the end of the day. All right, so now we talk about the bacterial, viruses, and antibiotics. Antibiotics work only against bacteria, not virus. Viral illness like flu, cold, or COVID-19 do not need antibiotics. Misusing antibiotics for viral infection accelerates resistance. Now, I have a lot to discuss about these things, but I'm very brief because of time. Now I see this is like a common practice. Whenever you are having cough, cold, you come to the pharmacy, and then when a cough syrup is being prescribed, you are requesting for an antibiotics because you are having flu, you are having cold, you already made up your mind that they are bacterial infection. That is a very wrong practice. That is a very, 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 very wrong practice, because viral infections are way different from bacterial infection. Flu, cold, they are not bacterial infection. Please just take notes henceforth. Flu, cold, they are not bacterial infection. And without antibiotics or antiviral medication, over time, your immune system suppresses it and they feed off with time. So you don't necessarily need to use antibiotics. We have anti-allergy that will help to suppress that effect. So not all illness will need you to take antibiotics, please. I beg us, because at the end of the day, a time will come where you will need to use these antibiotics, and then it will have no effect on you, where you will have to still be looking for higher choices of antibiotics to use, and that could cause a lot at a crucial time. Okay, so antimicrobial resistance in Nigeria, current situation. Over 60% of antibiotics used in Nigeria occurs without prescription. So now, about 60% of the antibiotics we use in Nigeria does not have prescription, which means that we just walk into pharmacy or wherever we get our medication from, we just use them without doctor's prescription. And then that is one of the major factors why we are having this antimicrobial resistance. Poor infection prevention and sanitation increases risks. Fake and substandard drugs worsens resistance. Now, in recent year, we've been having a whole lot of fake drugs that are being procured unverified from unverified source. So I feel NAFDAC these past few weeks or months, NAFDAC have been working relentlessly to reduce the rate at which adulterated drugs are being sold, where you buy where drugs are not up to the standard in terms of the active ingredient they are in them. So as a result of that, underdose and then substandard drugs affect greatly the effect of the antibiotics or antiviral or anti protozoal on that particular ailment they are treating. Then common resistance infection, we have typhoid fever, tuberculosis, and gonorrhea. Yes. Now, at the moment now, yeah, I think I have a doctor in the house, so you could verify, attest to that. At the moment now, the gonorrhea that is being transmitted now is a resistance gonorrhea. So if God have it, how will I say it now? I'm trying to look at the best context to put it. If you are down with gonorrhea at this point now, I feel like it's more of like an helpless situation because medications now are becoming resistant to the treatment of gonorrhea. And then even typhoid now, you see people who will come every month. They are always, when they go to the lab and do tests, typhoid is always there because of frequent exposure to the source at which these infections are gotten from. And as a result of that, this bacteria has become so stubborn, and then they've developed enough skill to counter the effect of the antibiotics that we are using. And that's very sad. That's very sad because as a result of that, that gets us used to, we are exposed to the side effects of these antibiotics we are using day in, day out. Are we following, please?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you. So common misuse of antibiotics. Taking antibiotics without prescription, I said that earlier, not completing prescribed doses, sharing leftover drugs, using antibiotics for minor illness or viral infection, pressure on pharmacy to sell antibiotics without prescription. So I believe that we already know about all of these things now. Consequences of misuse of antibiotics. What are the consequences? Longer and more severe infection. Now, when antibiotics or other antimicrobials are misused, for example, when taken without prescription, in the wrong doses, underdose, or stopped too early, the germs are not fully killed. The surviving ones become stronger and harder to treat, leading to infection that last longer and cause more damage to the body. It's crazy that bacteria has become so severe and very difficult to treat that the consequences are becoming more pronounced. Lots of in recent time, I see a whole lot of cases of different infection not being properly treated, and then as a result of that, lead to childlessness and all. As a lady or as a guy, if you have an underlying infection and it's not properly treated, it could lead to a lot that you can never imagine. So misuse of these antimicrobials will leave us with no choice than facing the consequence of misuse of these antibiotics. So increased medical costs and hospital stay. So treating resistant infection often requires more expensive and complicated medicine, more lab tests, and longer period in the hospital. This puts a financial burden not only on individual and family, but also on the health care system as a whole. So what are we trying to say here is that when you misuse your antibiotics, or we have to come to face the reality of antimicrobial resistance, it will incur more costs at the doctor's end, the hospital end, and at your own end. and it will require a whole lot of skill and expertise from the doctor's end to be able to take care of the illness, because as a result of prolonged infection, it also leads to, there's something called opportunistic infection. These are infection that comes as a result of the pre-existing infection. So now, if you are down with, for instance, you are down with typhoid for a long period of time, over time, your immune system is being suppressed to the bare minimum. There are other infection, other minor infection that, all things being equal, your immune system will counter the effect. We now start surviving, and then as a result of that, start telling on you, and before you know it, they start telling you that one organ is failing, the other one is failing, and then before you know it, it's we incur a whole lot of expense, and if not properly managed, could lead to death. Um, Spread of resistance infection to family and community. Resistant bacteria and viruses can easily spread from one person to another through touch, shared items, or contaminated food and water. This means that even people who use antibiotics correctly can become infected by resistance germs carried by others. Yes, this is very true. So let me explain this. When someone who have, if you are the type that is very obedient, you use your you use your antibiotics or anti-malaria or anti whatever you are using, use it at the required dose. You're always very consistent with your medication use. You're always very appropriate when it comes to you using your medication. You're always very exact. You could still get a resistant strain as a result of other people who are not using this medication appropriately. For instance, I was saying something about gonorrhea. Gonorrhea used to be treatable, but as time goes on, it was being the resistant strain that is in somebody's body, because the person, maybe the person has gonorrhea, of course, and decide not to use the medication as supposed to. Over time, then the bacteria and the infection itself now develop resistance to the medication. So then the person now have intercourse or whatsoever with another person, then we transfer that strain. It will carry that characteristics of the bacteria or fungi or whatsoever. It will carry it to another person. So as a result of that, now resistant strain is being transmitted from one person to another. So if the person do a culture, like you go to a lab and then you now do antibacterial culturing to know what you are sensitive to, the same amount of resistance that the person have is the same amount of resistance that you have, because the person has failed to treat it appropriately. So if you have a partner, sexual partner, of course, or whatever partner you have, maybe for instance, they are down with one infection or the other, and then they are not using the medication appropriately. As soon as the bacteria become resistant and you are getting it from them, trust me, you are also getting the resistance strain from them, which will mean that overview, it will be very, very difficult to treat that infection. Are we getting? I think I'm almost rounding up. It's time. Yeah.
Yes, so
Yeah. So, loss of effective treatment for future generation. If resistance continues to grow, the medication we depend on today may stop working completely. Common infection, minor wounds, or routine surgeries could once again become life-threatening because we no longer have effective drug to treat them. Now, this is a lot because as at 2010, 2005, 2010, the highest medication we ever use as Nigerians, as individual, one of those household medication that we ever use was amoxicillin or ampiclos, all things being equal. And the moment we use them, we are good. I believe that we can attest to that. Once you use amoxil or ampiclos before, you are good. But now realize that you are even using a whole lot and you are not getting any better. The infection it seems like it's not even going anywhere. That is because of the resistance that they've developed over time. So now the bacteria is becoming more stubborn day in, day out. And this over time, we have to or it will be a taxation on people, on the healthcare practitioner, to invent drugs that will help to prevent this resistance. Practical steps, practical prevention step for everyone. Now, what are the ways to now help to prevent this antimicrobial resistance? Only use antibiotics prescribed by a qualified health professionals. By a qualified health professionals. Now, in recent time, practice in both hospital and community pharmacy. One of those things I even see mostly in community pharmacy is that people will come and tell you that, oh, I saw this medication on TikTok. They said that it's good for vaginal discharge. I want it. Come on. And then if you now trace it, okay, let me show me the video now. Let me see. Maybe one auxiliary nurse will tell you that this medication is good for, or just a random person that came across that thing, and then they just read through the leaflet, and then they now say that, okay, this is for vaginal discharge. You insert it, you do this and do that. Then you are now coming to pharmacy to buy such medication. Please let us, if you are in that art of doing such, please let us desist from it and stop it henceforth. Don't use TikTok prescription or someone by the roadside, because the person can inject. You now start requesting for medication advice from them. No, go to the hospital and seek for a proper medical attention. Do not just use any medication. And then if you walk into a pharmacy too, because in recent times, so as a situation of the country, you see that we have a lot of pharmacy without pharmacists. So a lot of self-proclaimed pharmacy. So if you walk into any pharmacy, request to see the pharmacist so as to break down the essence of the use of medication you want to use, so that you can know what you are taking into your body, for proper explanation on the medication and why it is good for you, or the other and vice versa. So that's it. So always complete the full course. Always complete the full course. Please, once you start using your antibiotics, no matter how better you feel now, please make sure that you finish um your antibiotics. Never share or reuse leftover antibiotics. Please do not share or reuse leftover antibiotics. And this question come to a point where we also talk about suspension for those antibiotics for kids, where you refill, you put water into it and then you refill, and then after completing the medication, after completing what's it called now, the medication, you now cover it for somebody else child or children whatsoever. So please do not be finding that hat where you carry the antibiotics that you've reconstituted, then you now give it to another person, because at the end of the day, the liquid solution is prone to higher infection when it's being mixed for at least 21 days. You are supposed to dispose all things being equal. Practice good hygiene. Wash your hands regularly. Please always wash your hand regularly, especially when you just come back from a public place or at work. When you're back from work, ensure that you wash your hand and disinfect it appropriately. Get vaccinated to reduce infection risks. Yes, get vaccinated to reduce infection risks. We have a whole lot of infection out there. One of those most common now that is more spread now is hepatitis. You can get vaccinated for it so as to prevent you coming down with that viral infection. So a lot of antiviral vaccinations are out there where you can get injected with, so you won't be coming down with the medication. You won't be coming to a point where you have to use the medication and then face the consequence of the side effects. Avoid self-medication. Kindly avoid self-medication. Do not treat yourself by yourself. Encourage others to use antibiotics responsibly. Now, community action, educate family and friend on. Okay, I have just 10 minutes left. All right, so educate family and friends on antimicrobial resistance, clean water and sanitation initiatives. Because now, clean water now, we see that a lot of people are coming with ulcer. You'll be so shocked at the water you are using being the leading cause of the ulcer. It's very crazy. So also encourage the use of quality assured medicines. Don't just go to chemists, any place that is just open, or those people that hawk medication. They come to you, you buy antibiotics from them because the medication seems lesser. And the crazy of all is they now cut it for you. They cut ampiclox or ampicillin. They will cost 2 sachets. They will cut 2 tabs or 3 tabs. You are doing more harm than good. It's really going to report suspected fake or expired drugs to pharmacist or NAFDAC. Yes, if you get any premise that is selling fake or expired drug, kindly report them to appropriate authority. The role of healthcare providers, I believe they know what to do. So government and WHO are okay. These are just normal the bodies that they are responsible for antimicrobial resistance. Why you can what you can do today: use antibiotics responsibly, practice regular hand hygiene, get vaccinated, eat clean, well cooked food, spread awareness, not resistance. Make sure that you cook your meat appropriately. Tuberculosis is real. Cook your food well, and then make sure that the water you're also drinking is properly disinfected. It's so crazy now that an experiment was conducted recently on bottled water, and then you can't imagine the amount of microbes that are found that are found inside those water. It's very crazy. It's unfortunate the kind of system we find ourselves in. But then, as much as we also want to complain about the system, the best we can do at our hand to please let's make sure that we do that. Medication resistance is shared. Okay, please take home. One of those things that I should also take home is that know that antimicrobial resistance is a shared responsibility. Every misuse counts towards resistance. Proper use, hygiene, and awareness can save lives. Together, we can stop Superbugs from winning. All right, so thank you so much. Come to the end of the teaching. Should in case you have any question, feel like you can keep them coming. So I think I will hand over to Dr. Oluwapelumi. Are you there, sir?
Yes, thank you very much, pharmacist Abiola, for that very enlightening presentation. I'm sure a number of people in the audience already have questions. You have the opportunity to ask by typing it in the chat. We also have some questions from registrants that have earlier registered for this event, so I'll bring them out. Well, some of them have been answered during the course of the presentation, but for the sake of emphasis and for the benefit of those that may have missed out those details during the course of the presentation, I would ask them again. So I have 6 questions here. Again, if you have more questions, please ask in the chat. It will be read out before the event ends. So the first question I have here: are bacteria the only microbes that become resistant?
Okay, like I said antimicrobial resistance. So it involves both bacterial, fungi, virus, and any parasitic infection. So if you don't use the medication that are meant for them, over time, they are just like humans. So they have adaptive features. So they will coin a way to prevent themselves from getting eradicated by the medication. So it is not only bacterial infection.
All right, thank you very much for that response. The second question I have here. So someone wants to know, can resistance go away if we stop misusing antibiotics?
Yes, and yes. Okay, now resistance can be addressed if you properly use antibiotics. Yes, over time it gets better that we might not have to face the issue of resistance again. But should in case for people who are resistant already to lots of strains of antibiotics, we can also look for, that is why test is involved, where your health practitioner will now look for higher alternatives, which might incur other costs. So higher alternatives, yeah. So, and as soon as they are properly addressed and they are eradicated totally, that's it. That will be it.
Thank you very much for that response.
You're welcome, sir.
We have a question in the chat. So I'll read it out immediately so I won't forget. So you mentioned during the course of your presentation that at community pharmacies in Nigeria, that we should ask for the pharmacist. So how do you know the individual presented at those community pharmacies are actually pharmacists?
Now, that is a whole lot of issue that's and so very unfortunate that we are facing now in recent practice. Because I couple of times where I walk into the pharmacy and then I request to see the pharmacist, and then someone will tell me that is a pharmacy, and after one or two interaction, I realize that this person does not even come close to being qualified as a pharmacist. And for that request, the person will now dare tell you that, oh, I'm not a pharmacy, I'm a pharmacist technician. But if you want to really go for that to verify, we have a unified platform where you can always check the licensing number of each pharmacy. You can request for their licensing number and then place it on the site. It is going to bring out, display all the list of accredited pharmacists in Nigeria. So that is one of those ways of avoiding someone from, that's just the only way now. It's just the only way. That's the only system that is being set aside to be able to verify if one is a pharmacist or not. But aside that, I'm so sorry, there is no way to put those things to, there's no way you can actually verify except that means. And then from the questions, when you throw one or two questions, when they don't satisfy your curiosity to the end, and then a lot of questions are swept under the carpet, you should be sure that the person is not qualified enough to give you a medical advice. That's it.
Thank you very much, pharmacist, for that very enlightening answer. So I'm sure, just like myself, members of the audience would like to know what is the web address of that licensing site. If you could just type it in the chat for people to know and see, for the benefit of those that here and those that will come across this video much later in the future. So while we await that, Aderola wants to know what happens if you don't complete your vaccine series. Would it affect the immune system?
Now, if you don't complete your vaccine, what?
Series.
Okay,
You know,
okay,
there's
okay. Series, okay, yeah. So will it affect the immune system?
Yeah, what happens if you don't do that? Will it affect the immune system?
Now, for instance, now, depending on the kind of vaccination we are talking about, for hepatitis now, they have like 2 to 3 stages of vaccination that you have to do. Now, the mode of this vaccination they are attenuated. For instance, now, attenuated in form of, okay, for instance, they want to get your immune system accustomed to a particular infection so that when the main thing comes, your body can fight against it, right? So your immune system is being trained so that whenever you come across that particular thing, it can know that, it can dictate that, okay, this is what it is, and then they can develop mechanism to fight. So now there are stages to you getting this vaccination, and then for you to avoid for you to avoid not coming down with the infection that you are getting vaccinated for, you have to complete the phase of your vaccination. If it's 2 stages, you have to complete it. If it's 3 stages, you have to complete them. You have to make sure that you see to the last stage, because it's more like a partial obedience means no obedience at all. So you have to complete your vaccination to be sure that this particular thing that you are working against is actually in check. Do you understand? So if it's hepatitis virus, you have to do those things. Whatever vaccination you are getting, you have to complete those phases to be sure that you are in good and safe hands.
Thank you very much. To buttress his response, immunity is not complete, or immunization is not complete until you take the required number of certain vaccines. So, for instance, the tetanus vaccine, you have to take up to 5 before you have immunity for life. And yes, definitely, require booster doses in the future. But at each of those stages, the 1st to 5th stage, you have to the immunity only lasts for a while up until the 5th stage, that it is documented that it can last your entire lifetime. So to enjoy the maximum benefit of these vaccines, you have to complete the required number of doses. So we have more questions here for our guest speaker. So someone wants to know, how do antibiotic usages in animals contribute to resistance in humans?
Okay, yes. Now that is a lot to start with. I remember, I think it was I want to remember this. I think it was 2022 or 2023 at Ogba. I was working in one pharmacy, community pharmacy in Ogba. So then thi- this woman came in and then she said she wanted to buy ampiclos. And I was asking now, what did you want to use the ampiclos for? And then she told me that she's into fishery, so she give those antibiotics to the fish so that they can, so as to prevent them from getting infected and stuff like that. And then I was confused. I said, "Is that a normal practice?" She said, "Yes." So that is what she has been doing, and then that is exactly what is invoked. You have to use antibiotics to train them over time. And then in recent research, it shows that most of the egg we consume and the fish we consume have a trace of antibiotics in them. Yeah, they have a trace of antibiotics in them. So now this is one of the example of misuse of antibiotics. So when your body is now being used to, when you take that fish now, if it's ampicillin or ampicloster is being used for that fish, you are taking that trace of ampiclos in you, even while you don't need them. Or maybe there is a bacterial infection in you that is sensitive to that ampiclos. Over time, when you use it, when you start eating those fish or you start consuming those livestock that are being treated with such an antibiotics without a cause, over time you develop resistance because you are exposed to animals, or you are exposed to food or lifestyles that get you exposed to those antibiotics in a very minor quantity that could cause the death of the bacteria in you. So as a result of that, you could develop resistance to it. Did I answer the question, please?
Yes, thank you very much, sir, for that response. So the last question I have here, before we end the session this evening. So why does or okay, this person asks that why does the body develop resistance to drug? I would like to correct that. The body does not develop the resistance, it is microbe, the microbes that do that. So why do microbes develop resistance to drugs?
Now, okay, the way it is now, let me bring it down to the aspect of humans. Imagine you have an opponent, right? Where you constantly see your opponent here and there, where you have to fight with your opponent here and there. Over time, one of the things you learn to combat the battle is you have to be as skilled as your opponent and even more skilled than your opponent. You have to know the tactics at which your opponent work so that you can combat the effect of your opponent. So the more you get exposed to your opponent, the more you get skilled and develop mechanism to attack your opponent. If your opponent is coming in a particular way, so that is exactly how your antibiotics work against against the bacteria itself. The antibiotics now is the opponent. Antibiotics is the opponent. Bacteria is the one in question. So now, when you use your antibiotics, it works in a certain way. For instance, let me use, for instance, penicillin. They work, they break down what we call beta lactam. There's something we call beta lactam, where um, there's a class of penicillin that they couldn't withstand. Oh God, I don't want to sound complex right now. I'm trying to make it simple. But then let's just have it in our mind that the frequent exposure to antibiotics will make the bacteria to develop a mechanism to be able to counter the effect of the antibiotics because of its getting exposed to it over and over and over again. So it's bring a mechanism or a way, derive a way to counter the effect of the antibiotics. So that's it. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate the illustration in your response. Just like nobody would like to lose to his or her opponent.
Yes.
Antibiotics, the microbes We don't want to lose to us or to the antibiotics as opponents. So if you have any other question, I'm afraid you will not be able to, we will not be able to entertain them right now. However, you can ask on our YouTube channel. This video, the recording of this session will be uploaded on our YouTube page. So you can go there to watch and then ask your questions, and answers will be provided as soon as as soon as the questions are gotten. So thank you everyone for your audience this evening. I'd like to remind you about the HealthFacts video service, which you can benefit from. Ensure you visit portal.healthfacts.ng to subscribe. It's a very straightforward process. And again, it's a pleasure to have you all this evening. Enjoy the rest of your day.